Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. It's been a long day, very, I think, productive, an interesting day. And I get to talk about data. Like, is there any subject that's more challenging than data? Before I get into that, let me give you sort of two kind of overarching themes about where the world is going in David Raab's opinion, because they kind of provide the context for everything else we're going to talk about. So there's two sort of mega trendy things. The first is this merger between marketing technology and advertising technology, martech and ad tech, which you combine. I mean, you get mad tech, and mad tech is kind of a cute little thing to say. But they're different, right? Marketing technology is about today's marketing technology, talking to people you know, identified individuals. Traditional advertising technology was talking to people you didn't know as individuals. It was talking to segments or TV viewers or magazine or newspaper subscribers. You didn't know who they were. Big difference. Traditionally, really different worlds didn't talk to each other at all. Today, what we're seeing, and we talked about this earlier, is the two really are coming together, and they will continue to come together until there's really no distinction, simply because we do have a better idea now who those advertising targets are. Target's an ugly word, right? We may not know precisely by name. We may know by name but not want to admit we know by name because it creeps them out. But they're no longer anonymous. Maybe they're anonymous, if it were. We sort of kind of know who they are. Sometimes we really know who they are. We just don't want to, as I say, tell them. So that really changes the game. Things like lookalike modeling, for example. Excellent example of, like, is that ad tech? Is that martech? Kind of right in between the two, and there can be more things where they overlap to the point where there's not going to be any distinction, any meaningful distinction within the next few years. So that's one big trend to bear in mind. Martech plus ad tech equals mad tech. Second big trend is a move in the economy from transactional to relational marketing. We talked a little about that earlier. The sales guys talked about that quite a bit, but I'm talking about something much more specific. Not simply about retention marketing, about focusing on keeping your existing customers. Very important, absolutely critical thing to do. But there's really much more specific thing that's happening. About half the economy today, half of what you as a consumer spend your money on, are really basically subscriptions. You have your health insurance. You don't go out and just pick a doctor every day. This is your doctor, that's your primary. You're going to continue to use that person. You don't make that decision on a transactional basis. It's a relationship basis. Well, there's other kinds of insurance, same sort of things, right? Then the other half are things like groceries. You go to the grocery store, I need milk, I'm going to decide what milk to buy. Milk's not terribly branded, but soup, I look at all the different kinds of soup cans, cereal, which one am I in the mood to buy today? That's a transaction. The half of the economy that's not subscription already, those transactions, that is moving to a to a relational world where it's going to be subscriptions. Pretty soon, I'm not going to go to the grocery store and pick the cereal box off the shelf. I'm going to have a program that's attached to my refrigerator or attached to my cupboard that says, make sure I always have cereal on hand, computer program. And you decide what to buy, and you decide when to order it. And I'm just going to subscribe to this grocery service. Okay, and it's not just going to be groceries. It's going to be when I get my self-driving car. Now I need gas in my car. I go to the gas station. I probably pick the one that's close to me. When I have a self-driving car, it's not going to matter if it's close because I'm not wasting time. The car's going to drive itself to the gas station all by itself, right? So I'll say, car, just go find the cheapest gas within 3 miles or 5 miles or whatever. I'm going to subscribe to a service that's going to manage my car. It's going to take itself for oil change. It's going to do all these things for me. So all those subscription services are services that I'm going to buy based on a relationship. I have to trust that the grocery program is going to buy the right groceries, that the car gasoline selection program is going to get the right gasoline, it's going to have the service done at the right time by the right people. So I have this relationship based on trust. So building trust with consumers is going to be a whole new thing. It was something earlier today, was a Bark box, okay, a little box. I subscribe to dog toys. Everything's a subscription in this new world. Now, what this means to us as marketers is that all of a sudden we really have to build trust-based relationships with our customers in a way that we didn't always have to do. Before that was an option. It's like, yeah, you know, I can be a different kind of brand, and maybe I'm a brand that's got this huge brand equity and it's all trust-based, and that's cool. But I can be a low-cost brand, I can be this brand, I can be that. Now, not a choice anymore. We have to build these trust-based relationships. And the way we build trust-based relationships is by showing people we know who they are, we understand them, and we're actually acting in their interest. So it's all exactly the kind of stuff that Sell-Through and other people have been talking about all along here about really having a proper customer relationship, a unified customer experience that gives our customers exactly what they want, shows them we understand them, shows them we're working in their interest as well as ours. Okay, so those are the two sort of overarching things that you want to bear in mind as you think about how you're going to evolve your marketing today. Now, none of us today has a system in place that does what I was just talking about. Okay, this is all still a little futuristic. We're getting there. We're not there yet. But if you lower the bar just a notch, the standard for today would be have all my data assembled, manage all my interactions across all channels, optimize every one of those interactions, and do it in real time. Okay, that's sort of the ideal system today, does those four things. How many of you have a system today that's perfect that does that? Why am I not surprised? Of course, none of us do. Let's lower the bar a little further here. Let's just talk about the complete customer view. Okay, just the first of those. 99% of customers in the survey, experience survey, yeah, single customer view is very important. Nobody really argues with that. 24% said they actually had one. And I would argue the 24% figure is probably a little optimistic. How many of you have what you consider to be a complete customer view today? None. Okay. No. Not too surprising, to be honest, but I thought there were a couple of, there's some pretty sophisticated companies here, but really hard and define complete. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about why you don't, because that's the real question. Does anybody doubt that we need a complete customer view? It's mom and apple pie, really, and we know we need it today. When we get to this trust-based world, this mad tech world, it's going to be even more important. We already need it, even if we weren't going in that direction. So why don't we have it? I'll give you 4 reasons. And I actually am going to require you to answer this question. If the person next to you does not raise their hand, you give them a jab. You have my permission to jab them with your elbow. Okay? And I'm on the stage, so I'm allowed to give you that permission, because that's what people on the stage are allowed to do. So 4 potential reasons, all right? Maybe we don't have the budget for it. That's why I haven't built this perfect thing. Maybe I don't know how. I don't have the skills. Maybe I don't know the time for it, and maybe I don't see the value, okay? Any other reasons? Anybody else can think of any other reasons? Those are the 4 that kind of come to mind. Any other reasons you haven't done it? Everybody going to subscribe to one of those 4? I'll give a second. I'm really serious here. Any other reasons anybody think of? Okay, so think for a second. Budget, time, value, skills. Budget, time, value, skills. Those are your 4 choices. Give it a moment. Think of which of those 4 is like your barrier. You're allowed to pick one. Okay, now I want to see you raise the hands. I'm serious. I really want to see your hands. How many, it's a budget problem? Nobody. Is that a hand? Is that a hand? How many, it's a time problem? I just don't have enough time. Okay, quite a few, maybe, I don't know, a quarter of you. How many of you, it's a skill problem? I just don't have the skills. You're not allowed to say that. A couple of them don't have skills. And the 4th one was value. How many just don't really think it's worth it? Okay, you didn't all raise your hands, which means I didn't tell you that the bar's not going to open. That was the deal. But maybe they'll let you, we'll see. We'll talk to Eric and we'll see if he'll let you have the bar open anyhow. But most of you said time. Actually, that's kind of what we see. But what's interesting is we have most of these discussions, and in fact, when I even put together this discussion, it raises this question, why does bad data happen to good marketers? Why don't people do this stuff? Oh, Buddha. Well, Buddha says, everything happens for a reason. Thank you, Buddha. And sometimes the reason is you're stupid and make bad decisions. And that's kind of, some people kind of feel that way, get really frustrated. Why aren't these people doing this? They must be stupid. And of course, you're not stupid, right? And we see, in fact, probably for most of you, the reason is you don't have time. But when you get discussions like this, you rarely hear people say the reason it doesn't happen is lack of time. What you hear people say is, they don't know how to do it. So let's give a presentation on how to do this. And in fact, that was all, I think that was what I was supposed to talk about today. Let's build great data quality. And OK, here's a methodology, the 3 R's here: requirements, remediate, report, repeat, 4, like that, 4 R's. And excellent methodology. I've done this, my whole career. Lots of good, solid reasons I can give you. I can tell you how to do this. Lots of other people can tell you how to do this. Sailthrough can tell you how to do this. Bob the Builder here can tell you how to do this. But again, it's not the issue. It's not that you don't know how. It's basically, more than anything else, you really don't have time. So what do we do here? If I just lecture you about this stuff, you're going to kind of have this attitude like, yeah, tell me more about data quality. God, it's not a boring topic. And I don't have time for it anyhow. So I can stand up here. I can say, damn it, eat your broccoli. This is good for you. You know you have to do it. So I'm going to tell you how to cook broccoli. Well, you're sitting there saying, first of all, I don't like broccoli. Second of all, I don't have the time for this broccoli. So this would be a really waste of your time for me to sit up here and spend the next 20 minutes discussing those 3 or 4 R's about how you do this. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to say, well, how do I get these people to do this? I can't create more time for you. But the reason you say you have no time, it's not really that you have no time. I mean, you have 24 hours in a day. We all do. And, 18 of those are for work, right? It's priorities. It's like you don't think it's the best use of your time. You really think there's something else better that you can do or that you have to do. So it's less about the rational understanding, yeah, I really should do this, yeah, I really should eat my broccoli. It's more about, I have to give it the priority, I have to get excited. So let's not talk about the mammal brain. Let's not talk about the rational. Let's talk about your lizard brain. OK, what the hell is in it for me? I just want this irrational lizard brain, the part of me that cares about food and sex and stuff like that. I got to get it excited. Because once I get excited, once you get excited about this, once you really in your heart think it is the most exciting, important thing you can do, you'll find the time. Because it'll take priority over some other thing. Right, so how do I get you excited? Well, how do we get anybody? We'll just go to some porn, right? Because that's how you get people excited. You get people excited with porn, no big deal. And there's different kinds of porn. There's food porn. There's real estate porn. There's other kinds of porn. Porn's all about like this ideal, exciting thing that maybe you don't really necessarily do, but like it looks like a lot of fun. And the people doing it in the pictures certainly look like they're having a good time. They've taken away all the messy parts and all that. So I'm going to give you some business porn, which is really use cases. Right? Business porn is basically case studies. This is what people are doing, and boy, wouldn't it be fun for me to be able to do that. Well, if maybe I even want to do it, but it sure is fun to read about. OK, so let's talk about data. I mean, this is even data porn, if there is such a thing. There is now, I suppose. We're going to give you so different kinds of data. OK. And what I'm calling common data, because this is your basic name, address, web behaviors, purchases, service interactions, the stuff that you actually are pretty much gathering today or have access to today. All right? But so again, doesn't care. What can you do with it? That's what gets that lizard excited. This is the porn part. It's what you can do, right? I can talk to people directly with it because I have their address. I can target messages by segment. I can personalize or individualize those messages. This is fun stuff, that middle column. Okay, and this, again, is what Sailthrough and other products, it's really not a Sailthrough ad, can do for you today. They let you do all these fun things, okay? So Eric, now you know what business you're in, for real. Other data, though, that's just one kind of data. Intent data. Very hot topic right now in the industry, right? We can kind of read their minds, right? Well, what could I do? Where does it come from? It comes from content consumption and e-commerce hovers and social posts and public stuff and all kinds. But what matters is what you can do with it. If I know intent, then I can target my display ads to people who are in market from my target. That's pretty sexy. I can get lists, so not just display ads. I can send emails. I can send direct mail out to people. I can get other kinds of lists of people who want new products or people who may be ready to leave because their intent is to no longer be my customer. Remember in our subscription-based, relationship-based economy, keeping those customers, keeping those people subscribing is really important, even more important than it is today. So it's really important to be able to do that, to understand that intent to leave, intent to churn or attrit. I can obviously select the best content. I can do all kinds of cool things. So that's my second cool thing that I can do with data, all right? One kind of data. Another kind, location data. We haven't talked about too much. I can obviously identify where they are in specific time and place, and then I can do all kinds of contextual marketing based on precisely where they are. And also, remember, I already knew who they were. I can send messages to anonymous people at specific locations, geofencing, stuff like that. I can assign customers to segments based on what their activity patterns are. These people take this certain route every day. That probably means they have a job and other things like that. I can find kind of trends and look at aggregate stuff. This is all fun stuff. Hopefully this is something you'd like to do. As a marketer, you're supposed to be your mouth is supposed to be watering a little bit here, because this is really cool stuff that certainly as a marketer I would love to do. Another kind of data, Internet of Things. I know Brian's going to talk about IoT later, but there's a lot of stuff out there. If you think about the location data is sort of a subset of Internet of Things, right? Because the world is instrumented. The point of Internet of Things is we have all this stuff out there, all these objects and places that are transmitting information about us, what we're doing. And that gives us even greater personalization capabilities, because we know, not just where they are right now, which is what location tells us, but where they've been over time, what they've been doing, what their consumption patterns are, and what they're likely to need, because their car is about to run out of gas, that sort of thing. So we can fulfill future needs, things like repairs, contextual ads through the devices themselves, even if we don't know who the person are, but there's their little Nest thermostat, and I can send a message through the thermostat, whatever message I want to do. It's a good IoT application. Again, segment people, find trends, all kinds of cool stuff that I can do with thing data. Semantics, another kind of data. This is all stuff that, I could have asked you to raise your hands. A handful of you are going to have this stuff. And semantics, some of you actually will, because a lot of you are content people. But there's technology that can obviously read and understand text and extract entities, find out what it's about, extract concepts. There's stuff that, then read the message and decide, oh, well, this person just sent a really nasty, email to my customer service team. Let's not give them the automated response. Let's actually have a human call them, that kind of thing. Let's do accurate recommendations, not just based on, birds of a feather stuff, but actually, wow, this person really does this particular kind of thing. Let's, they read this kind of book. Let's offer them other books that are similar to that in different ways. And if they're really smart, to say, he never reads 2 books in a row on the same topic. Like, I just read a book about, I don't know what the hell it was. I don't know, the murder of Prince Louis in 1406, right? Now they send me something else about medieval France. Like, no, one medieval France book, a week is enough, really. So now I'm reading, I don't know, something about evolution. It's very interesting, actually. But actually, there's still a lot of patterns in my consumption, which if they were smart, they could figure that out. So another set of data, all new stuff, topics, concepts, sentiment, entities, comes from both commercial content, TV shows I'm watching, the books I'm reading, the films I'm watching, music I'm listening to, and user-created content, okay? Social posts, reviews, phone calls, stuff. So 2 very different kinds of data sources. All this should be like accumulated in your super-duper database, right? We're not there yet, I don't think. And then, audio and visual. It's not just text, right? And some of you, again, are in these things where, there's technology that exists today that can actually watch a movie, basically, and figure out what's going on in the movie and convert it to text and then do all the semantic processing, and actually also just look at the movie and get a sense of style and feels, all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. And same with sound, with music. So there's a lot of non-text data that, again, all gets in there and allows me to understand my customers better and target them better. And again, this is not quite off the shelf yet, but actually it is off the shelf, but most of us have not gotten there yet. So I think that's the last of these. That should be enough, right? So hopefully by now you're drooling. You're like this lady here's like, the data looks so delicious. I want all those things. I want to do all those things. Oh, please, please, please. Why can't I do that soon? And now we come back. So hopefully, like, we've solved your time problem. You're desperate to do this. You'll spend hours on end if I've done my job properly, like really wanting to do. Yeah, you'll give this priority. You'll get up an hour early just so you can get your hands on some of this great data. But now we come to the problem of how do you do this? Now, the key to all this data, all the different data types I just talked about, that yes, those are kittens. All right, let's be very clear. I'm like stooped to kittens because I knew it was going to be, 4:30 or 4:45. You guys had a long day, so anything to keep you engaged here. Yes, we've stooped to kittens. I'm not proud, but I have done it. And the kittens that are the same color, the orange kittens there, those are identifiers that are kind of consistent across channels, right? Your email ID, yeah, we all have more than one email, but basically, you're going to be able to get email ID for pretty much any kind of data, as opposed to, say, account IDs, which are the black and white kittens. They're different colors because they're different across different channels. A lot of thought goes into this art here, and I hope you realize that. My account for my e-commerce is different than my account for this app or for that app or for Netflix or whatever, so much harder to merge across accounts. So some things, some devices, like my phone, maybe that is a little more similar, but they don't have phone across all the things. So the moral of the story of this slide, anyhow, is that email really, so far, anyhow, does seem to be the common key that's most likely to succeed in merging all these different kinds of data. Lots of caveats to that. You're going to have this situation, that situation, how you're going to use it. I'm a consultant. I can't give you a straight answer. But if you had to pick one, if you have to pick a place to start, really think about how I can gather email from as many different places as possible and use that to unify all these different kinds of data. And then let's build great identities. It's not easy, because there's a lot matching that stuff. There's all these steps to do. And again, now we're back into this sort of how do I do it thing, just like we were with the original 3 R's. And again, we could spend lots of time on how to do it. Bob the Builder's here. Bob will do that for you. Okay, there are lots of Bob the Builders in the world. Like the sail-through guys are Bob the Builder. I'm a Bob the Builder for that matter. People who really love to do this stuff, and they know how to do it. And they are more than happy for a fee to solve this problem for you. Not easy. I mean, even for them, it's not easy, and they can't guarantee success, and it's going to take a while. But basically, these are things that we know how to do. We can do them reasonably well. Okay, these are not new problems. These are problems that smart people have worked out and found a whole bunch of ways to do over time. So once you know you want to do it, again, once you kind of have your nose against that glass and you're dying to get into that room, yeah, there's people who can take you through that door, and building identities is one of the ways that they'll do that. So are we there? Is that it? We build identities, we're done, we have all the data? Hell no. Hell no. And she's really saying, Bobby was on my Facebook page again. That's what she's actually saying in that picture, right? Because that's kind of where we are. That's just the start, right? Getting the identity data, that's just the base camp here, this mountain that we're climbing. All right, there's other kinds of data than identity data that we have to work in. There's issues about how I actually store that data. Lots of different data stores out there. They're good for different things. It's not trivial to get it all together and unified and accessible, and again, real time being the key thing there. Then we have personalization capabilities. How do I get all my touch point systems so I can actually embed those personalized and individualized messages and deliver them all? And remember, it's all got to be consistent, cross-channel, optimized. Then I have to optimize it, not just delivering personalized messages, but actually delivering the right ones. And over time, again, getting back to that importance of relationship. Okay, we can't be short-sighted. It's not even an option anymore to be short-sighted. You're going to be out of business if you're short-sighted when it comes to optimization. So you have to optimize for that long-term relationship and having it in real-time access. And honestly, there's stuff beyond that too, but we ran out of mountain and we ran out of time. So these are all the things. Every one of these things, again, this is, Bob is just delighted. Yay, let's build stuff. Bob the Builder is thrilled. He's going to be busy for an awfully long time, right? needs to be making a lot of money for an awfully long time. And you're going to be delighted to pay Bob the Builder to do this, because it's going to mean that your business is successful. So the thing that I want you to take away from all this, there's really two things. The first is that, this stuff is really important. It's really exciting. It's great to do. You're going to have a great time doing it. And the second is that it's not quite as hard or as time-consuming as it sounds. It seems tremendously daunting. It's climbing Mount Everest here, literally climbing Mount Everest. There are people to help. It's not as hard as you think. It's plenty hard, but we do have all the Bob the Builder types in the world who are out there to help you. And when you get there, you're going to be at like one hell of a party. All right, that's the good part. Is when you get there, it's just going to be great. And I think we have time for questions.
So you work with lots of different customers, clients, what have you, across these different elements, semantic data, location data, what have you. Not all data is created equal. Not all data is necessarily as useful or as powerful. Are there any, we understand identity, there's an email layer that you need to have that key, but can you talk a little bit about, either from a customer experience, either one that you could talk about or one that's blinded at least, what data, sifting through all of that, what data is more meaningful or versus less meaningful? So I am a marketer, and my goal is to increase customer lifetime value, and I've done it. We love data. We've done everything that you've prescribed.
I would say if I had to choose one kind of data, so maybe what I would do first, again, forget about the stuff that I have, like my common data, what's going, identity, that's a given, right? Salesforce does that for people, there are places to get that. So if I had to go to one of those next categories, I would probably want intent data. I think understanding intent, and there's a lot of third-party intent data, let me be clear. There's a lot of first-party intent data, what they're doing on your own site, and you should use that for sure, how they're reacting to your promotions. But there is a lot of third-party data out there that gives really good insight into intent, and that's how you know who's in market. So for your acquisition side, again, that's how you know who's in danger of losing. So on the retention side, that's really where you get the best, I think, value for improving the effectiveness of your marketing, is if you could really get good third-party intent data. And third-party intent data, again, is kind of a mixed bag. There's quite a bit out there. Some of it's really good, some of it's kind of dubious. But if you're gonna, because time is limited, if you have to take a place, I would argue that's probably the place I would put my energy as a marketer.
In your experience, who do you see as the most data-driven marketers in terms of B2C media or e-commerce companies out there today?
On a tactical level, I'd say the retail guys, the e-commerce guys. They have all this data. Now, I don't know if I should say this. I come out of, I have clients in all industries, okay? I've worked in, my clients have been in every B2C industry, and a lot of B2B clients for that matter. And the retailers, they're really data-driven, they're really short-sighted. I don't want to insult anybody, and that's, I think, what Salesforce actually has been talking about through the conference is let's get beyond that. But, they're all merchants, and they want to know on Monday morning what happened over the weekend. That's just a retail mentality. Maybe the e-commerce guys aren't quite as bad as the store guys, but they are tremendously data-driven, and they have lots of good data, and they can do lots of good stuff with it. But they do have to learn to take that longer-term view. That's their one fatal flaw, as it were. All right, anything else? All right, I think we're good. Thank you.